Hi, it's Andrea Foulkes. It's the 1st of July 2013. It really feels funny when you make video clips because you think, oh, I better introduce myself, because often there's a lot of people who are just watching your video clips for the first time and they don't know what you're about. So I was a past life, and I still am a past life regression expert. I was very lucky. I did this on TV in the UK, and I had shows on ITV1, a show called Have I Been Here Before? And first of all, I was an expert on a show called This Morning, Taking Celebrities Back to Past Lives. That isn't how I started off doing this stuff. I was doing that already before then, but I think when you're doing what you're meant to be doing, the universe always lines up for you to offer you a platform to do what you're doing in another medium. And that for me is how I ended up on TV doing what I do. I was already following my joy, my passion. I'd had my spiritual awakening, which was around 98 to 2000, and it's continued onward now, which is obviously 2014. It's been an incredible journey, and last week I was guided to go to France for the week. You know, sometimes I'm a little bit I suppose quite naive. Like, I don't think, oh, I will go to France and that will coincide with the solstice. I don't think like that. I just think, oh, my friend's in France, she's there, oh, I think I'll go while she's there at the same time. And so I go, and of course then I go, oh, I'm going to be there for the solstice, that'll be fun. Oh, I'm going to be in France when there's the cosmic moon. Oh, that'll be interesting. And I just booked to go back to France again. And I just, booked it again intuitively, because that's how I roll, everything is intuition. And I look and I see, oh, now I'm going back for the 14th of July, which is Bastille Day. So there'll be fireworks and again, there's another cosmic moon around, not quite the same cosmic moon as there was before, but there's another powerful moon around that time while I'm going to be there for the second time. So, that's living by intuition. Is you don't need to know when these things are. They will just line up for you. And I think so many people, when they say, what do you mean by living by intuition? Well, that's living by intuition. You don't need to know when the moon is. You don't need, because you will be intuitively guided to find yourself in the right place, doing what you needed to be doing. You don't need to be trying to configure your diary so that this can happen and that can happen. And it's to follow the heart. And what came out from my trip in France, which was, I just felt so happy in France. And it was really interesting because if you look at the history of the Cathar region of France, which is where I was in the Cathar region. And if you don't know much about the Cathars, go and Google and look up about the Cathars and the Knights Templar and how they believed. And I was a Cathar in another lifetime. And I was in Carcassonne I live where there's lots of tractors. I'm in Avalon, and so I'm on the back of this cart. We're just having a tour around Carcassonne, and what came up for me was just really how in another lifetime I'd been taken to the gallows for my spiritual beliefs. I was very strong in my beliefs. But what was interesting was it was the same place, and this lady in France on the trip is saying, and if you look up you'll see the gallows. And in my mind I'd already just jerked back to being on the back of a cart before being taken to be hung at the gallows. And so what I've noticed when I've been regressing people in past lives, you can't say, oh, this happened to all women and therefore this is terrible, or this happened to all men. And it's a very personal thing. So you can't project that if you were hung, you were terrified, because what came out of me actually seeing my own past life there was actually, I wasn't frightened. I wasn't fearful. I was going to be hung at the gallows for my spiritual beliefs. But what came out of just having that flashback to my own past life was I didn't care. I really knew in my truth, and I was in this state of grace and peace and being, and that dying for my truth was better than lying. I couldn't live a lie. I couldn't live an inauthentic life in that lifetime and kowtow to society's norms or what they wanted me to say just so I would live, because it wouldn't be living. It would be living an untruth, in fear and in denial of my truth of what I truly believed. And so for me in that lifetime, it was better to die in the truth of what I believed in than to live a lie. And so often I've taken people back to lifetimes where, say, they've been a temple maiden to a priestess in a past life. And when a priestess would be buried and die and put in their chamber when they would die, often the temple maidens who'd serve them would be put in this chamber to die also. They weren't dead at that point, but it would be an honor to die for your priestess, or some of them felt it was an honor to die for their priestess, and others didn't, and they totally freaked out and were angry that they'd been locked in this chamber, that eventually they'd run out of food or air, and they would die too with the priestess who had died. So it's really, really significant that you find out your emotional reaction to the story of history that you've lived through. And that will be triggered through various means and your being. And also, friends brought up for me just joyfulness. You know, I saw another lifetime in Arc, which is a place, a chateau. And I was just so happy. And I was with a friend and we were traveling together. And she was having a completely different reaction to remembering a life in that place. But mine was just total love and joy. That hasn't always been my case when I've gone back to some of my own past lives and processed them, and certainly from regressing lots of people, that isn't always the case. It's not always joyful, but we need to process the pain. We need to be brave enough to go there, to process that pain, because the pain has to be processed. You know, the fear, the loss, the guilt, the shame, the rejection, it has to be processed out of your energy body. And much of history that we've been told is not the truth of being. And so we have to go in to find our truth, not what history has told you. What history has told you is irrelevant. Even the story of, you know, Jesus and Mary isn't the truth, and many people are teaching a lot of, in my opinion, a lot of untruths around that time and what happened to us. And there is an illusionary history that's been put into the consciousness of humanity, and people believe it to be a truth, but it doesn't seem that it is a truth. And a lot of it is around the truth of twin flames and beloveds, and you know, a lot of that is because many of us follow the teachings of Jesus and Mary because they hold that Christ consciousness memory. And the Christ consciousness memory is the memory back to the stars. It's the deepest truth that's been hidden from humanity. And you can't just focus on earth times. We've got to go back further than that to, you know, how did we get to be a consciousness on earth? Well, I remember my past lives coming here as an energy being eons ago. You know, for some people that would be 26,000 years ago. You came here as an energy being. I've seen people be born out of crystals. You know, you could laugh at that, you can disagree with it, but it was the truth of their soul, and it set them free by going back to this history. How you came here, you maybe came here in a period in history where you didn't need a physical body, and before Atlantis, before Lemuria, many people were energy beings, many people connected with the dolphin energy. And so we're here to clear the whole of our timeline of history and to remember our soul lineage back to the stars. Many people came through the central sun, or you may have a specific connection to a specific star system. I have a particular affinity with the Pleiades star system. I've had many lifetimes in the Pleiades star system, and by lifetimes I mean, you know, literally that, maybe not in a physical body, but many times I have spent time in that star system. I know that knowledge, I know that wisdom, and the Pleiadians, or the pleadians as you want to call them, they are teaching the wisdom of the heart, and that is what's of great significance now on planet Earth, and that is what the people you would call Jesus and Mary, the Essenes, that's what they were teaching, was the wisdom of the heart. They were 9-dimensional beings. we have the ability to go beyond being 9-dimensional beings to be 12-dimensional beings, but they were very evolved beings for the time that they existed on the planet, as were the other ascended master spiritual teachers who were on the planet at the same time or in different periods in history in different parts of the world, sharing their teachings. Man-made religion took hold of those people and tried to turn it into a religion when it really wasn't. It's just the truth of the soul, that we're from the stars and we need to remember our divinity of who we really are. And we are our own twin flame. The divine feminine, divine masculine has to come into balance in yourself. And of course it's beautiful to have relationships with other people, but unfortunately what happens for most people is we get into relationships and then all our unprocessed karma around relationships gets projected onto the other person, and it gets very painful. Or for people in a really deep denial of themselves, they lose themselves in the relationship to just be what the other person wants them to be. And then of course when you do that, you manifest disease and illness in this lifetime, and you'll be out of here pretty quickly in this physical body. So it's trying to maintain being in this physical body in a vibrant state of health and well-being and be your own twin flame. And of course it's beautiful to be in a relationship with another. It creates a mirror, but not from a place of lack inside yourself. You know, you don't seek a relationship because you feel lonely or you feel sad. You have to get to the point of going through that process of feeling sad and lonely in yourself so you can become one with your own divine feminine, divine masculine, and then, you know, from the not seeking, potentially a relationship will come to you. It's a process. I'm not saying it's easy. The journey of evolving ourselves and clearing all the illusions, the past lives that we've believed ourselves to be, you know, where we've judged ourselves, other people have judged us. It's all got to be processed, and the ancestral timeline as well has to be processed. You know, with the soul lineage and we have the birth lineage, and they have to be processed. And in between that, entities can attach to your vibrational energy field, and some of those come from other dimensions which aren't of love and light. And I think one of the biggest problems that people are doing at this point in time is there's a lot of ritual and ceremony, which isn't actually a positive. The ritual and ceremony is tying people into old past lives. It's not setting your soul free. You know, I was just looking at something today on Amazon, some book, and I was just like, oh my god, this is so complicated. This ritual, this ceremony, this sacred ceremony, sacred sexuality, it's so complicated. And the truth of the soul is never complicated. It's always simple, and it's going to lead you to looking vibrant and healthy and in well-being and younger than you really are. And so, you know, when I look at a lot of people teaching this stuff and writing these books and all this stuff, they're starting to look really old for their age, and there's like a darkness around them. And I don't know, maybe they just don't see that in themselves. They don't see that they're getting darker by these rituals and ceremonies that they're performing that are tying them into old timelines. They're not setting themselves free. They're not returning back to the stars. You know, you'll be guided automatically to do things that will ascend your soul back to the star lineage. You know, you're here to connect with your soul star lineage, clear out your timeline, which affects your spinal column and all your vibrational energy field, and then you'll anchor that light through you from your star system, or the one you have the affinity with, or the central sun, and pull it through you and anchor it into the earth, as in heaven on earth. That's what we're here to do now. I work with private clients doing that. I've done regression, as many of you know, on TV, taking people to past lives. That's very limited. It's a wonderful thing to see and experience, but it's very limited in the healing process. The work that I do with private clients is much more in depth. And I've been working a lot now recently with people on Skype, because that seems to be the way forward. I speak light language, which is the language of the soul, of the star systems. That has a profound effect on people's vibrational energy field. I have some clips of me speaking generic light language for clearing fear, clearing ancestral timelines, opening the heart. But really, you need to get your own unique codes as well. And so when I work with someone via the Skype or the phone sessions, which I love doing, it's going into your timeline and clearing what you need to clear. When you hear the truth of your soul, sets you free. There's some emotional reaction you have that sets you free, and bringing in the light language codes clears it vibrationally as well. It's hard to explain exactly how it works. I just know it works because I've been doing that work for a few years now. Before that was the regression in the conventional way, which I've been doing for 12 years, and I'm very blessed because I did this on TV. I probably worked with thousands and thousands of one-to-one clients, so I have a vast experience of working with people, and I think there's very few people who have been lucky enough to have that experience. I didn't, regress a few people and go and write a book and then not really regress anybody. I regressed people, I started doing it on TV, and I carried on seeing the one-to-one clients. At some points I would be getting 1,000 emails a day, and of course you can't ever see all those people, and eventually most people are just what I would call maybe spiritual tourists. They were just interested in maybe seeing a past life, and then when I finally got round to having the time maybe to see them as a client, they weren't interested in doing that work and then because the moment had passed for them. They were just watching this on TV. They weren't really committed to their own inner journey, and that's okay because we're just planting the seeds for awakening. People have the free will to go inside themselves and do the work or not. And I think one of the things that has been probably the biggest gift for me personally has been to bear witness to what's happened to other people who have not put their own soul and well-being first. They've put being in service to other people and showing up for other people, and that's how I nearly burnt myself out a few years ago, showing up for all these other people continually, because it was like, oh my god, my ego left all these people wanting my help, how amazing. And then you realize actually that's not great for your own soul. And so then I started to put my own health, my own soul, my own well-being, and of course I've healed myself of various ailments and illnesses along the way of this journey of awakening, and work with clients doing the same, helping them heal ailments, illnesses, fears, phobias, limiting beliefs, awaken to who they truly are. But it's a process, there's layers and layers and layers of this, but it's getting easier and quicker now to do this work. So I really didn't know where this video was going. I was just sat here making it, and as you see, I mean, this is like the amount of tractors and farm machinery going by is quite big. So that's it. I have light language clearings on YouTube. Listen to those. If you feel you want to do some inner journey work, I would strongly recommend doing the Skype sessions with me. They're very powerful. That's all I can say. Tune into your timeline. You've got to be, emotionally ready to face the truth of your own soul and be committed to some kind of guided meditation, because it's amazing how many people just don't do the inner journey work. They seem to think they're gonna evolve by carrying on doing what they're doing and not really making lifestyle changes. And at the end of the day, you will get to the tipping point where you have to make lifestyle changes. There will be enough cosmic light coming into you that you'll have to question, is it appropriate for me to continue eating animals and their byproducts? It's a process. You can't tell somebody, you must not eat animals. It's got to come from their own soul. The worst thing that happens is somebody stops eating animals because you make them feel guilty. Of course, it's their choice to feel guilty, but for me, stopping eating animals came from a place of just love in my heart of like, I can't do this anymore. This is wrong. I mean, I never ate many animals, to be honest with you, anyway, and there were points in my life where I was vegetarian. But it was just connecting with the soul of the animals and just, this is not appropriate. This is not an evolved way to eat sentient beings. I mean, goodness. it makes me cry now. It's just not right. It's just, I can't do this. And when you have that profound in your heart feeling that this just is not the way of love, this is not the way of how an evolved being exists on planet Earth, then you're starting to shift a consciousness from really from the space of the heart, you know. So yeah, so anyway, it's just always moves me so much, the animal thing. So anyway, we all do the best we can, you know, because we didn't know any better, so there's no point in feeling guilty. You know, the animals have said that, don't feel guilty, just evolve beyond, go into what your heart is calling you to do now. And it doesn't matter what other people think, or if they ridicule you or they belittle you. It doesn't matter what other people think. It's what you feel in your heart to be the truth. So we have to honor all people's truths. You know, I have to honor people's truths I don't resonate with, and I see where they're going with that, and I see them getting maybe sick and ill, or I see them starting to, their light diminish, but I have to honor their path that they're on and allow them the process of what they need to go through. And so it is with everybody. We must honor people's free will choice. You know, that's the biggest lesson to learn, is honoring the free will choice. So I didn't expect to speak for 20 minutes, but I have. And so yeah, have a look at my website. I've just changed it a little, so the back end isn't quite perfect on the front, because we changed the back end. The front end doesn't look that great, but I have other light language activations, and I have post on Facebook every day because I love Facebook. And apologies if my website seems a little bit confusing, but I promise you it's the 1st of July today, and I will be tweaking it and tinkling it and making it better. And I'm very excited. I have just booked the retreat space at the Chalice Well for July 2014. Oh my God, that's so far ahead of time for me personally. But those of you who are abroad, put some dates in your diary. I think it's the 25th to the 27th of July. I'm going to run a retreat at the Chalice Well. No matter what, I commit to those dates, which for me is a big commitment. So many blessings, lots of love. Bye.